So welcome to Social Media and Mental Health with Bianca Golondrino. Hi, I'm Kim Fuller, and I am Chief Executive Officer of Fuller Life Concepts, and we're a mental health and wellness agency in California, and we provide individual, family, and group sessions to children and adolescents and their families, and we specialize in working with anxiety and depression. And one of the things that we are excited to do is bring workshops and trainings to you for free. Our goal and intention is to provide easy access to mental health, as well as information that you can use on a daily basis. We try to find topics that are relevant and current, and I think social media definitely fits the bill. And you will see from her presentation all of the ways in which we have been influenced by social media and how it impacts our mental health and ways to address that. I also want to let you know that there will be an evaluation at the end. And part of that evaluation is also to find out if there's any additional topics which you would be interested in us answering questions or hosting for you. And lastly, this is an opportunity for you to ask questions. Please use the chat feature, as I will be monitoring it and allowing you to interact and ask questions as needed, and anything that comes up, I will make sure that I let Bianca know so she can address it at the end of her presentation. Okay, and without any additional information, we are going to let Bianca take it away.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. This is actually a very interesting topic that I find is important to discuss. I think a long time ago, I went to one of those lunch workshops at the LAUSD building, and they talked about this topic, and it was many years ago. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is really important because this is something that's not going to go away, and it's just going to keep going and going and getting deeper and deeper. And something I realized as I was doing research for this presentation is that there's not a lot of research on it, and because it's still so fresh and new. So I just wanted to bring this forth. If you're a parent, if you're just a person who uses social media, if you don't, if you have friends who use it, or kids, or if you're an educator or mental health clinician, this is definitely something that is important to discuss, especially for the next generation, even for our generation, us, in our Gen X, Gen Z, millennial, whatever generation it is, it's an important topic because it's just, again, it's not going to go away. So as Kim said, my name is Bianca Golondrino. I work, as a contracted clinician for Fuller Life Concepts, where we offer services. Our mission is to remove barriers to high quality mental health and wellness services, and improve the lives of women and children in their relationships with self and others. We offer telehealth sessions, individual, family, and couple sessions. We focus on anxiety and depression, and our providers are specially trained to work with children and adolescents. We accept private pay, victims of crime, and some insurances, and provide free consultations. So my name is Bianca, and I have a bachelor's degree in sociology from UCLA. Go Bruins, yay. I have my master's degree in social work from California State University. I've been working as a social worker for many, many years. So one of my specialties is trauma. I do work with victims of crime through Full Life Concepts. I help those who have been abused, domestic violence, just any victim of crime, really. So I help, people work through their trauma, anxiety, and as a result, depression. I think in the last 2 years, because of the pandemic, I feel like my treatment and my sessions have leaned a lot towards the depression of being home and isolated. So I'm currently being trained in EMDR. I don't know if you've heard of that. That's specifically, it can be used for different mental health issues, but it's mainly to treat trauma. And I'm also certified in trauma-focused CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So with all that, let's get started. And if you have questions, please reach out to Kim, and I will address the questions as best I can at the end of the session. I'm not an expert on this. This is something I actually want to become an expert at. So this is a start to all of that. If I ever get my PhD, I will be doing a dissertation on this particular topic. So throughout this session, throughout this workshop, I'm going to do self-checks. So just think to yourself, this is not a shaming situation. It's a safe space, but just it's good to kind of recognize in ourselves how deep we are in this whole social media situation. And as you can see, I took this picture at a friend's house with her kids. I walked in and there they all these kids were sitting there around the table, not talking to each other, but looking at their phones in a social setting. So this is just, a kind of like a glimpse into our youth and, just what the future holds in our society. So one of the questions to ask yourself, do you ever look at your phone for the time and realize you didn't check the time after putting it down? Happens to me all the time. I'm guilty of all of these. And then also, why do you post on social media? What's it for? Is it for recognition, for likes, or just what is the motive behind it? I think that's really the deeper question to think to ourselves. Like, why do we post? What are some of the things that you post on social media? Some people lean more towards family photos or vacations or political posts or religious posts. If you look at somebody's page on Instagram or even their TikTok, it's basically what their kind of like what their thing is. Like, okay, so this person's thing is they travel a lot. So they go on all these vacation, then you got the influencers who are fashion and all these things. And then how many hours do you spend on social media per day? So think about it. I mean, that's something to really like, okay, how often do I check my accounts, for anything new, any sort of new posts or new likes or new messages? And then how do you feel when you forget your phone? Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever, been like, oh my gosh, where did I leave my phone? If I leave it in the car for 5 seconds, I'm like, I go into panic mode because my life is in my phone. Everything I have at my phone. Do you check your phone as soon as you receive a notification, or do you wait until later? So, the buzzing, the dings, did you get a new message, a new email, a new like, a new post popped up, a new news feed, anything? And then are you able to put your phone away when speaking to others? That's a big thing. As you can see here, you've got some kids sitting around. They could be talking to each other, but they have their phones out. And even when you're having a regular conversation with somebody, are you constantly like kind of looking at your phone, like, okay, looking for messages? Are you able to sit quietly for more than 5 to 10 minutes without looking at your phone? Think about waiting rooms. Think about when you go to an office or when you're waiting for a meeting. It's like, can you just sit there? Or do you need to constantly look at your phone? When you don't check your phone, do you wonder if you have a new message or notification? So you're thinking about it like, okay, I haven't checked my phone in like 20 minutes. Oh no, how many calls did I get? How many messages did I get? And then like an hour later, you find out there's like no messages because you just checked it. Or, it's like people are working or busy. Why are they going to text you? So some research, as I said, there's not a lot of research. So I did go into, some websites to try to find. So there's the whole displaced behavior theory that might explain why social media shows a connection with mental health. So really the connection between social media and mental health, there's not a lot of research on that. So it says, according to the theory, people who spend more time in sedentary behavior, such as social media use, have less time for face-to-face social interaction, both of which have been proven to be protective against mental disorders. On the other hand, social theories found how social media use affects mental health by influencing how people view, maintain, and interact with their social network. So really, we're in we're in a stage right now where our social interactions are mainly online, are mainly via phone or technology use. How many people think another self-check? It's like, do you prefer text messaging or do you prefer calls? How many people take phone calls? I know personally, my husband, he has this thing where if I text him, he'll call me. It's like, no, I don't need you to call me. I just need to send me a quick text, but he prefers calling. So you still have those kinds of people who prefer calls. And it's like, wait, why is my phone ringing? Who's calling me? And then it's like, okay, do you screen your calls? So think about that, just how everything is social is like just a quick text, a quick message, a DM in your Instagram or wherever it is, likes on a TikTok, comments on your posts. So it says here, because social media is a relatively new phenomenon, the potential links between their use and mental health have not been widely investigated. So this is proven, like it has not, there's studies going on, I'm sure, but there's still so much. So this is in 2020, big year for everyone. So it shows the distribution of social media between genders. So this is one of the articles that I looked at, and it shows, females are, well, based on this study, females were more likely to use Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. However, males are more inclined to use Instagram and Snapchat. Snapchat. All right. So here's the thing with social media. It's not great and it's not bad. It's not all good and it's not all bad. So that's why I say it's a double-edged sword. There could be benefits and there could be drawbacks. So I'm going to talk about the benefits. There's more social connections. There's a way to reach out and encourage others. For example, kids or people who are more introverted, they feel more comfortable posting on social media or messaging others and kind of connecting with others through that social media platform, which I think was the original idea behind creating a Facebook or an Instagram. It's just kind of like for people to have some sort of community, like, hey, this is what's going on in my life. This is, I don't have time to call everybody and let you guys know what's going on, but I do have, this to show you, like, oh, I got a new puppy, or I got married, or I went on this vacation, or I got this new job, things like that people are very willing to post. And also, if somebody's going through something, it's like, hey, we're here for you. We're thinking about you. I think about even what's going on in Russia and the Ukraine. I have friends who live in Kiev and had to, leave to go to, and now they're in Hungary. So they've been posting updates on their journey from Kiev to Budapest, and I'm like, so of course I'm sending messages like, hey, thinking about you guys, we're here for you guys. Also for inspiration, networking, think about LinkedIn and just how people network, get new jobs and get connections, supports, so there's social media groups for support, think about even mental health, it's really great. Mental health has become more normalized and more aware. There's less stigma because people are more like, or sharing more about their experiences, and more people are connecting that way. So that's what I'm saying. It's not all bad. It's not like this awful thing, Now the drawbacks on the other side of it, there's the FOMO thing, which I'm going to talk about next. Fear of missing out, feeling like you're not enough, comparing yourself to others. Like, think about what people post on social media. It's like the best parts of themselves. It's like, look what I'm doing. Look at the vacation I went on. Look at, the march that I went on, like, look at me kind of thing. And then if somebody else sees that and is not doing what that person's doing, it's like, oh man, I'm really not doing much. So let me try to do something to post it to show that I'm doing something. The constant need for desire, affirmation, that becomes an addiction. Like, okay, how many likes did I get? How come I didn't get as many likes on this post or in this picture? Do I not look good? Superficial connections, clickbait, fake news. Think about all the political stuff going on, and even the pandemic. All these people put their opinions. It's like all of a sudden everybody became a doctor. Now everybody's a war strategist. Like everybody has an opinion and they're posting it. So people, can easily be swayed and think like, okay, this is real. But people don't do the digging, the research. It's just right there, and it's like, okay, well, let me click on that, and it's something completely different. Divisive content, isolation, so some people could be so caught up in the social media and seeing other people's lives that they feel isolated, insecurity, and then, poor social skills. So this is, something that's a big deal, because what you present online, who you are, may not be who you are in person. So as a result, there's an SNL skit, I think, I don't know, is this season or last season, where it's like they're at a party, people coming out of quarantine and they don't even know how to talk to each other, have a conversation with each other. Think about that. It's real, and even kids nowadays, like the way, like they can't make eye contact because they're always like, looking at some sort of screens, and it's like, okay, yeah, Yeah, I mean, I have nieces and nephews who it's the same thing, and so it's just being like, what kind of social skills are we developing or not developing because of social media? Um, and so then there's a whole, FOMO, like what we see versus what we don't see. We see when we look at somebody's Instagram, there's filters, right? They have filters to make your skin look flawless. They have lighting. They have, even filters to make you look thinner. And you got to think about the angles. There's even TikToks on how to take the perfect selfie. Think about what's put out there. Is that real? People see what you see is like the whole tip of the iceberg, above the water. Success, perfect body, empowerment, happy families, happy couples, like, oh, I'm celebrating date night with Bay, when who knows, like there could have been a fight that same night. They could be going through stuff, and I've seen so many situations where, it's like, they go on a anniversary vacation and a month later they're getting a divorce, so it's like, it's interesting, like what we see and we feel like we need that. And so therefore it causes a lot of, you know, dysfunction within us, anxiety, depression, loneliness, we see that and we're like, we don't see what's going on behind that picture, behind the selfie. How many selfies did it take to get that one that's going to be put as a profile picture, right? So these are things to consider, as even if we're clinicians, as we're treating as we're treating, our clients, or even with kids, especially. I did want to bring this up. I don't know if anybody's seen that Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma. This is kind of another thing that spearheaded my campaign to like discuss these issues. If you haven't watched it, it's very eye-opening. It's really about this, what we're talking about. It's interesting. And then there's social media in the brain. So this is where we get a little scientific. I'm not going to go into the whole science of it because, for time, but really social media, even the act of like picking up your phone, opening it up, it increases the dopamine levels in your brain. So that's why we constantly need to look at our phones, because it's like this action of scrolling. That's what they do, scrolling. I mean, even in this Netflix special, it talks about just the act of scrolling and clicking and scrolling and clicking. It's like this, you don't even realize it's happening. It's like it becomes like an addiction. It's like muscle memory, just constantly picking up your phone. It's like, think about it. When you wake up in the morning, what do? You look at your phone. Most people do. I'm not saying everybody, but I do. Like, first thing I do, what do I check? I check my emails, I check my messages, I check my social medias, and then 5 minutes later I'll check again. If I'm bored, I'll check it again. Think about that. It's like this constant need. If I post something, okay, how many likes did I get on that one? Or let me like this, let me comment on this. Did they like my comment? So it's this constant need for that positive reinforcement, right? And it's like a drug that they compare it to using drugs. It reaches that part of the brain that fulfills that part of you that makes you happy, pretty much. So you can't, it's like a cycle. It's like you need to keep doing it in order to get that need fulfilled. So I'm talking about FOMO, fear of missing out. I'm sure nowadays kids call it something else. I'm sure they don't. I think it's more of a millennial thing, so it's this whole need to like not wanting to miss out. I mean, think about, if a friend of yours is traveling, it's like, oh, I wish I could be there, and now I'm stuck at home working, or I'm stuck at work, or kids are constantly like, I need to go, I need to be in the mix, I need to know what's going on at all times. That's why there's social media. It's like, oh, what's going on? Think about, you got like all these gossip channels, all these things like for celebrities. People want to know all about celebrities, and they want to know everything, right? So there was a research by Seabrook, a systematic review by Seabrook reported a correlation between negative online interaction in both depression and anxiety. Similarly, they found that passive Facebook use predicts social comparison and envy, which in turn lead to depression. So FOMO could be something like, like you're stuck at home, you want to go, but then you're like, or like you can't go, and then you're like, oh, now I'm stuck at home and now I'm missing on everything, and now I'm depressed, therefore I don't want to do anything. So it's like that constant that need for social connection, but then the fear, then missing out on it, and then having depression because you didn't get that. So self-check, here we go. How do you feel when you see posts of other people doing or gaining things that you want? Is it something that you're like, oh, I wish I had that? And then you feel kind of like inadequate, I know, sometimes I feel like, oh, I wish I had this. I wish I had more money, or I wish I had, you know, um, a better home or a better car, or I wish I had more time off so I could take a vacation. I wish I could go on that vacation. I wish, just constant need of like wanting more, and that it like fulfills that need. Like we never see what we have as enough. Do you post so others can feel like they're missing out? So that's another one too. Think about all the people who post, all their food, and like, oh, look at me, look where I'm at, um, does the food you post taste as good as it looks? Think about that. It's like, are you saying, oh, this is the best meal ever, the best ice cream ever, but is it really? Like, are you enjoying it? Do you participate in activities or buy things just to post on social media? So it goes back to the question of, why do we post on social media? What is a purpose behind it? It could be something just like, oh, let me just share with my family and friends what I'm doing, or I need some sort of affirmation. So I want to get likes on this particular photo, on this particular post. I need comments. I want validation. Do you constantly check your phone to avoid missing something important? So again, it's going back to, if you go, can you go 15 minutes without checking your phone? And if you hear your phone buzzing, are you constantly thinking about like, oh my gosh, I gotta check my phone. Who messaged me? Who called me? It could be something that's not like your kids. If you have kids, if they're in school and everything's good, or you're even with your kids, but there's like this buzzing, you're like, who's messaging me? What notification did I get? It's constant needing to see if you're missing something. Like, oh, if your friends are somewhere, it's like, oh, I want to be there. And what are they doing? Are they talking about me? It's just constant need for that. Another self-check. So let's talk about self-esteem. All right. Let's think about, remember we talked about the filters and just what people post, think about in general media, and just the standards of the social standards of beauty and looks. And I know there's more of a movement to embrace who you are, but there's still this need. Like I know my nieces, they're preteens, right? They're middle schoolers. So they're at a stage right now where they're figuring out who they are, right? And one of the things I've noticed, even in kids, even working with kids and adolescents, is as they're trying to figure out that identity, it's no longer like they want to fit in by being different. Does that make sense? Like, it's cool to be weird now. It's cool to be unique, but then it's like everybody wants to be so unique that it's like you're kind of looked at as lame or whatever if you're trying to fit in. Does that make sense? So you're trying to be so different to fit in. So it's very difficult, to try to help them kind of just grasp like and enjoy and embrace who they really are, not who they think that they need to be, even if it's like it's okay to be, it's okay to not get into anime. It's okay to not get into certain things. So one thing here, self-check. How often do you check your app after you posted something to see how many likes you get? That's a big self-check, How do you feel when you get those likes or when you don't? What the workshop that I went to many years ago, one of the person who was speaking was talking about a client she had, who was, that was when Twitter was a big thing. I mean, not Twitter's a thing now, but it was like bigger than like Facebook and all these things. And she said that her client, she had severe anxiety, that if she would tweet something and didn't get enough retweets or likes, that she would have a panic attack because she felt like she wasn't good enough, or that people hated her. I think about even there's this Billie Eilish documentary, and she's a young artist, she's amazing, she has some great talent, but she also suffers from depression, anxiety, and all these different things. And, one of the segments, talked about how she had like one, like, as the more famous you are, the more haters you're going to get, right? The more trolls, as they call them, they're going to be. And so a lot of celebrities or people in that limelight, have to ignore those things for their mental health, right? But for her, she's gotten so much praise, and then she got one negative comment and that ruined her day. And it's just like, even this next generation is how is their self-esteem built on how many likes or negative comments or positive comments that they get on social media. So do you look at how many people view your stories or videos, like TikToks, like you can see who viewed it, so you look, okay, how many people viewed this? Is that something that affects your self-esteem? Like, am I good enough? Or even if you have kids, think about what they're going through and what they're thinking about as they're posting, as they're on social media. Because again, it's not going to go away. And what feelings do you get when you see an engagement, a new baby, a new job, someone on vacation, a new car, a selfie that mostly took 20 takes and 10 filters to catch the best angle? Think about that. Like, oh, they look so good. They work out all the time. I need to work out more. Or I need to dress better. I need to get better makeup. I need to work out, go to the gym and get buff or whatever it is, things that really affect us, that even as adults, we think in our 30s, 40s that we'd be over this kind of stuff, but no, there's still that constant need for validation. So as explained by social comparison theory, people tend to compare themselves to others to assess their opinion and abilities. So I want to go now to just how it influences the way we think, our thoughts. How are your opinions shaped by your news feeds, politics, religion, parenting? You know that there are algorithms on these social media databases that if you post something, if you like something, then everything on your news feed is going to reflect those things. I don't know if you've noticed that. So if you like a video on puppies, you're going to get like 20 more videos on puppies, right? So if you like a political post that somebody posts that goes with your opinion, you get more and more posts, and sometimes the opposing posts, and it's like they're trying to shape your opinion and your vote and this and that. So it's really about kind of checking, like, okay, how am I allowing these things to influence me, and being able to influence yourself in a sense of doing the research on your own, even with the vaccine, no vaccine, pandemic. Is it a hoax? Is it not? This war in the Ukraine, is it justified? This not, like, so many things. It's all, everything that you post or look at, it's gonna kind of formulate to what they want you to think and what your thought process is. So just, kind of self-check, like, how are they shaped by it? Like, again, going back to the clickbait and the fake news. Okay. Are your thoughts and behaviors driven by headlines or truth? So again, doing the research, and encouraging others to do the research, not on social media, because again, that's clickbait. Those are things that they want you to kind of see in order to shape your opinion of things. All right, social media and parenting and social connections. And again, there's another picture of a family sitting at a table and looking at their phones and not talking to each other. And this is, I think it is kind of funny, but it's also, kind of scary that families, are not talking to each other anymore. It's more who has screen, everybody has a screen. So self-check if you have family, if you have clients that are in families or parents. Do you know what your kids are doing or posting on social media? I think that's the biggest. Yes? Oh, I don't know if somebody had a question. Do you know what your kids are doing or posting on social media? Do your kids have a spam account? Do you know what a spam account is? So a lot of parents are like, oh yeah, I'm friends with my kid on Instagram and on TikTok. I have access to their account, blah, blah, blah. But what you don't know is that kids have hidden accounts for just them and their friends and whoever they're talking to. That they're like, so they present something for their parents to be like, oh, I want to keep my account and my phone, and they have something else completely different. So what are they doing? Do you know what's going on? I'm not saying you need to go out and spy on them, because that's another issue. It's like they need to have their privacy, but are you talking to your kids about responsible use of social media? I know one of the main things I tell parents, it's not going to go away. And you looking at their phone, and if they're looking at things that they're not supposed to be looking at, it's not, this is something to really discuss, because you don't want to shame them, because then they're not going to want to share those things. But it's really about asking them, like, oh, so what was so interesting and what was so funny about that video of that kid, punching a dog, or what was so interesting about this pornographic image? Like, do you have questions about that? Having that safe space for them to share. And even one of the things that because I talked to a lot of kids, and it's like, okay, so even about this presentation, it's like, okay, so tell me one of the things that you wish, or that you would like parents to be more aware of, and they're just like, it's cool if parents talk to us about it, but don't get all in my business. But one of the main things is, who are they talking to? And I think that's the main question, because there's so many predators out there after kids and trying to influence kids and trying to hurt kids. So being able to kind of check, like, okay, who is this person that you talk, even on Xbox, if they're playing a game live, like, who are you talking to on the other end? Listen for language, and just even the topics that are being discussed, like, are they asking you to do certain things? Are they are they are they bothering you? Are they, are they harassing you, and be safe. Like, teach them, don't give them information, don't send them pictures. A lot of pictures are, a big thing. Snapchat, you send somebody a picture, it lasts like 10 seconds and that's it. And it could be of anything. And they could send them some stuff. So it's like, okay, if somebody that you don't know or anybody sends you a picture, don't open it, because you don't know what's on the other end, and what do you want the kids to be exposed to. Do your kids actually know their friends? So they could be friends, but they could just be people that they're talking to online. And who are they? Who are these people? Have you met them in person? Even if they video chat, where are you video chatting with? Who is this person, right? Are your kids getting their information on important topics like sex, politics, religion, drugs, mental illness from you or social media? And this is for parents. And, if you have parents who are clients, you can even ask parents this, like, where are they getting, kind of like before it was like, okay, are they getting the information from school or from home? And it should really be a safe space to be able to have those conversations with your kids. Again, bring it up, like, hey, I noticed this on your history, that you saw this, that you're watching this video, and I'm not upset about it. I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on it, and how can we discuss this and understand that what you saw in that video is not necessarily the real thing, right? Or especially when it comes to porn, and porn's a whole nother level of discussion, and they have special workshops for that as well. Another thing, do you allow phones at the dinner table? I think I encourage a lot of parents, like, maybe when you're having family dinner together, put screens away. In this Netflix special, The Social Dilemma, there's even this scene where the mom takes a box and locks up the kids or the whole family's devices to have a family dinner, and they just cannot stand sitting at a table without having their device in front of them. It's like a security thing, like having your phone in your hand at all times, or having it there on the table. I think about even when you're having lunch with friends or coworkers, always having the phone there on the table. It's like, can you put it in your bag? Can you put it in your pocket, put it away, so you can actually engage in a conversation? Are you able to have a conversation without looking at your phone? So those are just little self checks, And again, this is not to shame anyone. We all have this, and it's more to spread awareness that, what is the future going to look like if we continue on this path? Because again, it's not going to go away. So what can you do? All right. So this is where we come, to that. Calculate how many hours you spend on your social media apps and set a limit. Say, okay, if I spend, let's say there's like, you're awake how many hours a day? Like 12 to 15 hours a day, right? And you check your phone every 10, 15 minutes. That's a long time on your social media apps. So it's like, okay, so after a certain time, maybe just turning it off, and not looking at them. I've done a whole month with no social media, and I'll tell you what, it was refreshing. It was really good to kind of just not have to think about what you know, what's going on out there and just kind of being in the moment with my friends and family. Talk to your kids about being responsible on social media. Put your phone away when interacting with others. So, one of the things that I've tried to implement also in my life is when I'm having a conversation with somebody, just putting my phone in my pocket, putting it in my purse, if I'm having dinner or lunch with somebody, not having my phone out, unless I'm actually expecting a call or a text, it's like important, then I'll tell my friend, okay, I'm expecting this, just I'm gonna leave it here, but I'll turn it around. Turn off notifications, so if you really want like a break, then just turn off notifications and look at your phone later, but just no more buzzing while you're trying to talk to people. Take a break, take a day or two with no social media and see how you feel. Go outside and go outside and enjoy the nature without taking a picture and posting on social media. If you go to the beach and watch the sunset, just enjoy the sunset without taking a picture of it and enjoy it. I think of people on vacations, it's like you spend so much time taking pictures of these things to post, but are you really enjoying the actual thing that you're seeing? And then if this is becoming something that you feel, if social media, if you're feeling those things of like, I feel like I'm missing out, I feel like I'm not good enough, I feel like my self-esteem has taken a hit from this, seek help. We have services, we have clinicians who can help you, with depression, anxiety that comes with not having enough or feeling like you're missing out or getting upset with even current events that get put on there. It's like, man, this is really affecting me, especially during the pandemic. It was really difficult, and all people had was social media to kind of see what was going on, and it really affected a lot of people. So this is, again, it's a really important topic to really start talking about. Seek the help that you need if you're feeling that. You're feeling like, I'm so sick of seeing so many people living their lives and I'm not living my life, and what am I doing with my life? And you feel a certain way about that. All right, so now I'm gonna open up for questions. I'm gonna actually stop sharing my screen for a sec so I can look at people because I can't really see anybody.
So Bianca, you did have a question in the chat. And it was, is there a way for your phone to track social media use? I have a feeling my guesstimate will be low.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I do. Oh, where's my camera? Sorry. So I have an iPhone and they have a thing called screen time checker.
Screen time. Yes, I get that every Sunday. I get a notice with how much my screen time was up every week. I don't know about social media, but general screen time.
Yeah, and it will break it down into which apps that you're using, and it'll break it down between whether or not using an app that's like productivity, or whether you're using something that's social media or just for fun, or even your browsing history. And so I do think that's an important tool for us to consider.
Yes. Yeah, that's the screen time one.
I have another question. So one of the things you mentioned that kind of I had like a reaction to was the whole part about being influenced. And I did see that movie, The Social Dilemma, and realized even Kim can be influenced. I was like, no.
Yes.
So how do you know if you're being influenced? Like what's the kind of a way to kind of check that out?
So I know personally for me, because you know me, but people here don't know me, but you know me, I love to travel, right? And for me, like when I see somebody traveling and like, I just feel like, oh no, that's the FOMO, sorry, wrong topic. Okay, influence. So for example, like the whole, vaccine, no vaccine, pandemic, coronavirus, hoax, not a hoax. People are really influenced by what people post. So it's like, I have this article that I'm posting on, pro-vaccination, right? And everybody should get it. And then one person has like a negative reaction to it, right? And then they start posting like, it's evil, you should never do this. And so somebody could formulate their opinion based off of those articles instead of their own experience. Does that make sense? So like, it's like people could go from vaccine yay to vaccine no because one person had a bad experience, you know? So even during political elections, you know, it's like think about cancel culture. That's a huge thing. Cancel culture is like, you know, one celebrity says one thing and they're like canceled, and people stop supporting them, and people are talking all these bad things about it. Think, you know, and even people who have done stupid stuff in their past, like think about what's John Legend's wife's name? I don't know why I can't think of her name. She's like
Christy Teigen.
Yes, Chrissy Teigen, who was like super influencer on social media, and everybody's like praising her because she got through her, you know, she had her baby died or whatnot. And then a tweet comes up from like many like decades ago that she told a model that she should go kill herself, right? And that came back up, and now she's canceled. You know, so it's one of those things. It's like, how are we influenced? It's like, now when I think of her, I don't think of how much she's been through. I think of that tweet, and it's like, man, she told somebody to kill herself. That's so mean, you know? So my opinion of her, I don't know her, but my opinion of her has changed because of what the media is pushing forward, you know? So again, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous because we formulate our thoughts and opinions about other people based off of these comments and these articles, right? So the media is still guiding our opinions on stuff.
Right.
You know, if something's not trending, if something's not bussin', as they kids say nowadays, then it's old. You know, think about the battle between millennials and Gen Z. There's a battle going on. It's like, well, Gen Z this and are dumb, and millennials ruined everything. You know, it's just like this whole thing. It's like, why do we have to do that? Do something else. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Oh, yeah, I'm off mute. Yes, I think it's a very slippery slope. And that's the other thing you kind of talked about, that it's a double-edged sword, right? There's some ways in which it's being utilized that is very important in our lives. It's an addition that's welcome. And then there's ways in which it's being used as a weapon, right? It's been weaponized against many people, both people who are in the spotlight and even personally, right? I am a member of, I guess you can call it a social media app. It's called Next Door Neighbor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that one is just, I think the intention was to alert neighbors about things that are going on, good and bad, in the community, right? Oh, guess what? We have this festival coming up. I want you to come out, or I'm having a yard sale, or so-and-so's house is on fire, call the ambulance. So good and bad, right? However, oh my goodness, it has turned into an opportunity for people to express themselves politically and socially. And
oh yeah,
I think it's kind of gotten out of control to some extent, but I think you can put that into the same category as social media, right?
It is social media. Yeah, anything having to do with any sort of like where you communicate with people or post anything where other people can see, that's social media. TikTok, even YouTube is considered social media.
Okay.
And everything you post, like Facebook, obviously, LinkedIn, even as social media. I think about the networking, and people are using it more. People are using LinkedIn more now than ever as a social media platform because they post articles about work environments, negative things about working at the office versus from home. So it's like, again, it's just a way to. It's great, like, again, it's great for connection. Like, honestly, I would have never known what my high school friends have been doing had it not been for Facebook, so it's interesting. It's like, oh cool, like, oh, my old coworker from 10 years ago, it's like, oh, she just had a baby, cool, congratulations. It's cool to keep up with that kind of stuff, especially when you live far from people, family or whatever, friends, or even when you don't have time to connect with everybody, but at least, and you can see like what they're up to. But it's also a double-edged sword. Like I said, it's like, oh man, like, oh, they already got married, haven't been married, like, oh, they had a baby. People are trying to have a baby, that kind of stuff. Like, oh, you got a new car. Oh, you got a new house. Oh, how much was that? So it takes away, like, as instead of being happy for and celebrating their victories, it's kind of like that tinge of like, I'm not doing that,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, and even with celebrities, it's like a whole, like, okay, well, they have this life that everybody wants. I mean, the Kardashians paved the way for everybody for the FOMO thing. Like, I want the influencer life. Like, I want to be like the Kardashians, but I'm never going to get there. And as a result, I'm depressed and I have low self-esteem.
Yeah.
You know?
I do have a question about the children and the social media and the mental health. And that is, how do you know when it's influencing them in terms of, what kind of symptoms or behavior changes should we look out for?
I think a lot of isolation, like if they're isolating to their rooms a lot, if they are, because okay, so right now the look for kids nowadays is very grungy, like they just roll out of bed. That's like the cool look right now. So it's hard to tell when somebody's disheveled and depressed or when somebody's just trying to be like everybody else and look cool, right? So, but a lot of their behaviors, like just their mannerisms, and if every time they're looking at their phones, that you can kind of see you can observe them on their phones, like what's going on, or if they kind of stop talking to you or the parents, or stop being social, kind of thing, if their behavior has changed. I know some of I'll use my niece for example. She has self-esteem issues where she says, I hate myself, and I want to look a certain way, and that sort of dilemma you saw, like even the little girl, like with the filter, and the kids are trolling her on her ears or something like that, and she's like trying to put her ears back in. So even like, okay, are they covering up certain parts of themselves, like are they wearing their hair a certain way or wearing certain hats to kind of cover certain parts that they don't like about themselves? Okay, so what's going on? And because again, we all went through it as teenagers, as preteens and teenagers, our self-esteem, we're finding our identity. And now it's like, before it was just like, okay, it's just the kids you see in school or the kids you see on TV, but now it's in your face all the time. Filters, okay, angles, this and that, looking certain way, dances, TikToks, okay, but my body looks weird on the TikTok, So have you discussed the origin of the popular pronouns? So I haven't discussed that. And that's something, again, one of the good things about social media is that it is promoting awareness and it is promoting acceptance on, uh, let's see, sexual orientation and pronouns and gender identity, things like that. Like that's, kids are feeling more comfortable expressing, who they feel they are, how they want to be addressed. Like they're not getting as bullied, in certain settings, there's still cyberbullying out there. Unfortunately here in Florida, they have this Don't Say Gay bill that's being passed. So I just found this out. But in schools. And so, but I've talked to kids and they're like, yeah, it's more like if some kid says, address me as I'm non-binary. So I go by they and them, they understand and they're able to accept that. They don't make fun of them. So, but actually it's becoming so trendy that kids who don't identify as non-binary are saying, I identify as non-binary, like they're kind of like trying to be that, even though they don't really, they're really not, because they want to like be different and cool at the same time. So it's kind of like I'm not in their minds. So this is just what I've been told, from kids that age. Again, I ask questions. What's to tell me?
So just like everything else, it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
It's been used in a way, social media has been used in a way to be informative and inclusive, but at the same time, it's also influencing people to become something that they aren't.
But they're not. So again, it's like, okay, who am I? You know, you're in the, especially in those tender years where you're trying to figure it out and you have all this stuff coming at you. Like again, when we were teenagers, it's like we had stuff, but it now it's more difficult, especially because the parents have to figure out how to navigate this as well. And it's easy for parents to dismiss. Like I've heard teens say all the time, like, I'm so sick of my parents saying, like, well, in my day, we went outside. In my day, we blah, blah, blah. They're like, we're so sick of hearing that because it's like, that's not how it is anymore. We have this. And like, this is my point. It's like, this is not going away. This is going to stay and it's going to keep going and going to the point where kids are not going to be able to have a conversation and make eye contact, you know? So what do we do about that? It's really up to the parents to really help and mentors to really help them learn how to order food at a restaurant, you know, something as simple as that instead of like, oh yeah, I want a hamburger. It's like, yes, thank you, I like a hamburger, you know, just it's something so simple, but it's important.
Mhm.
It's huge.
You had one more question in the chat. Where may I be informed? I'm accepting, but I want to be informed.
Informed.
I think this is about the pronouns in that in identification.
Oh, that honestly, I wouldn't even know where to begin. And that I haven't, I don't have resources for that. I mean, I'd say go on NAMI.org, you know, I'm sure there's resources for how to address somebody, you know, who identifies a certain way, you know, and just, I would say just, you know, two very, or dear young ladies are identifying, but I must be able to dialogue. They know I'm accepting, they can't direct me. Right. So, you know, not everybody who identifies as non-binary or by certain pronouns are going to be able to educate you on, you know, this is why or this is what, you know. So it's really, to me, my biggest thing when I'm talking to someone who identifies as non-binary or as anything, you know, I'm always like, okay, what are your pronouns? You know, I want to be sure I show respect, all respect, um and if they don't want to inform me about it, that's fine. But I will go in and do some research. But I would suggest doing, you know, going to NAMI, yeah, NAMI, and I'm sure they have segments on that as well. But that's another like yeah. It's just, but it's really about respecting, showing respect. And then I think we have, since we have no more questions, we have one last slide. So this is the information for life concepts. You can go ahead and either take a screenshot of that or write down the information if you're looking, or if you know someone who's looking for some services, please reach out. And we have clinicians of all types available. Is there more?
Thank you, Bianca.
Thanks
I
so much
really,
for coming.
I really appreciate that. And thank you all for coming. I'm going to drop into the chat a evaluation form. We're always looking for feedback that gives us information on how well the presenter did. But it also is, like I said, there's a section for you to fill out if there's other topics or information. Some of the ones that came up today could be on the form so we can do some research and find a speaker who can address some of those concerns or interests. So I want to make sure that you have this form so you can fill it out. We really would appreciate that. And also we have upcoming workshops. So if you go to the website, you can see the workshops we've already done in the past, as well as we have one coming up in April. If you're interested in registering for this in advance, it's going to be on ACEs, which is going to be presented by another one of our clinicians. And I will put that in the chat too. And that is coming up in April. So you could register for that ahead of time and be first on the list and get reminders when for you to come and join us. Any other questions or comments before we go?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Are you trying to unmute?
Yeah, so I'm gonna work on a company PC account, and so when I click the hyperlink for the survey, it blocked me. So is it possible to send that survey to my personal email address?
Definitely will.
Great, thank you. And I actually do have a quick question. I know we have maybe 3 more minutes left. What about adults in your life that seem to be addicted to social media?
Oh my gosh, all my friends.
What? Okay,
were-
all right. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
We're literally in Italy at this beautiful cafe in the middle of the square, and there's Wi-Fi at the square, and literally they're sitting there. I have a picture of that too. I should have uploaded that as well. They're all sitting there on their phones. I'm like, guys, look around.
Yeah.
We're in Italy.
Yeah.
We're in Florence. Come on. You
Yeah.
know, it was so it's funny. I get like that workshop, and then just being friends with my friends has definitely motivated me to discuss this more, because I don't shame them. I'm just like, hey, I asked them, can we please put our phones away so we can have a conversation?
Well,
You know,
is it
it's
kind of like telling an alcoholic that, hey, you're an alcoholic, you should stop drinking? Is it kind of like the same way?
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that
Okay.
that severe. You know, I think it's but it's more like I guess it's preference. You know, so it's more. I guess I'm a little more old school, and I just like to have a conversation versus being on the phone.
One of the participants said that her daughter lives in Florence.
Oh, it's my favorite city in the world.
It's a
I
very
love it there. That's why I did not get on my phone. I took some